Hello, Internet. The Oscars have reached their 97th edition, and the ceremony took place last Sunday with plenty of unforgettable moments. As always, we kept an eye on everything to bring you the highlights of this grand night in cinema. This award show is the peak of the season, which we've been following in other videos here on the channel. Now it's time to find out who took the golden statue home, who was unfairly snubbed, and which moments got everyone talking. In this video, we're wrapping up the Oscars in style. We'll revisit the most impactful speeches, the most competitive awards, the behind-the-scenes surprises, and, of course, the exclusive after-parties where the biggest stars celebrated. So go ahead and hit that like button because I know you love keeping up with award shows. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Your support is essential for us to keep bringing this content. What better excuse to support the channel than gossiping about Hollywood? Already clicked that subscribe button? Great. Now let's talk Oscars. I don't usually comment on red carpet fashion, but this time I just couldn't let it slide. And I'm kicking things off with a bold opinion. I was really impressed by everyone's choices. That said, there were a few looks I didn't like. But overall, it seems like the guests saved their best outfits for the Oscars. It was one jaw-dropping look after another. Just look at Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, pure glamour and sophistication. As for Zoe Saldana, I wasn't a fan of her look. I felt it didn't suit her, but hey, she's the one wearing it, right? Who am I to judge? Felicity Jones looked beautiful, though I thought her dress was a bit too simple for the Oscars, while Ella Fanning was absolutely stunning. Blackpink's Lisa also stood out with a spectacular makeup look. Definitely one of the best she's ever worn. Fernanda Torres dazzled in Chanel, staying true to her signature black, but this time with feathers, shimmer, and movement. She was, without a doubt, the event personified. And Demi Moore? Absolutely stunning, flawless. Meanwhile, Mikey Madison looked elegant but opted for pink, which didn't seem to please everyone. But hold on to that detail about the color pink, because we'll get back to it soon. To wrap up the fashion talk, even the men stepped up their game this time, and the audience definitely appreciated it. The ceremony opened with a breathtaking performance by Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, who delivered flawless vocals in a medley of classic The Wizard of Oz songs. For context, this performance was a way to promote Wicked. The second movie in the franchise is coming soon, and we'll have a video about that shortly, while also serving as a heartfelt tribute to Los Angeles, a city still recovering from the devastating wildfires earlier this year. The Oscars provided the perfect stage to bring everything together. The duo performed Over the Rainbow, The Wizard of Oz, Home, The Wiz, and Defying Gravity, Wicked. Songs that speak of hope, resilience, and the search for one's path. Sentiments that deeply resonate with Hollywood at this moment. The result? Absolutely moving. I don't even need to tell you how talented these artists are. Everyone already knows that. But when they step onto the stage, they remind us exactly why. By the end of the performance, the audience was on their feet, applauding and celebrating. There was simply no other possible reaction after such a spectacular show. The host of the night was Conan O'Brien, a name many recognize from the numerous talk shows he's led in the United States. This was his first time hosting the Oscars, and he did an excellent job. And it's not just my opinion. The award show's producers themselves were very pleased with his performance and have already confirmed that he's more than welcome to return for future editions. One highlight of Conan's opening monologue was that he wasn't afraid to make bold jokes. He managed to touch on controversial topics in a lighthearted way, something that less experienced comedians might hesitate to do. For instance, he made a joke about this season's movies that wasn't as offensive as it could have been, but was still daring. He also had the courage to address the controversy surrounding actress Carla Sofia Gascon, the lead in Emilia Perez. Her presence at the ceremony was an event in itself, given the uproar caused by her problematic tweets. Conan didn't let this slide and commented, "A little fun fact for you, Honora drops the F-bomb 479 times. That's 3 more than the record set by Carla Sofia Gascon's publicist." He even mimicked her publicist in a panic, saying, "You tweeted what?" To wrap up the joke, he added, "Carla, if you're going to tweet about this Oscar, just remember, my name is Jimmy Kimmel." The audience erupted in laughter, making it clear that everyone was aware of the controversy that nearly derailed Emilia Perez's awards campaign in the weeks leading up to the ceremony. By the way, I made a video about this whole mess. Check it out. Another joke involved the film I'm Still Here, which sparked backlash on social media for being in poor taste. He said, "The movie I'm Still Here is about a woman who has to live alone after her husband disappears. My wife said she loved the story and wished it would happen to her." On social media, some Brazilians criticized the host, calling the joke inappropriate. In the film's plot, Eunice Paiva, played by Fernanda Torres, must reinvent herself to take care of her family after her husband, Rubens Paiva, Selton Mello, is killed by the military dictatorship. Conan O'Brien's joke about "I'm Still Here" was in terrible taste. "It was just not okay," one user wrote on X, formerly Twitter. Fernanda Torres was seen laughing during the mention of the film. But overall, despite a few controversial jokes, which are a staple of these kinds of awards shows, Conan did very well and was well received by both the audience and critics. He had plenty of other fun moments on stage, including a bizarre skit where he emerged from inside Demi Moore in a parody of The Substance, a musical number about how hosts fill time and drag out the ceremony, and a surprise appearance by Adam Sandler. He also made several jokes about Timothée Chalamet. Poor guy, he rarely wins. But at least he was the star of the night. And even some about the sandworm from Dune. Though those, in my opinion, felt a little off in timing, but overall, it was entertaining. Now that we've talked about the night's host, let's get to what really matters, the award winners. One of the biggest surprises of the night happened early on, with Flow winning Best Animated Feature. I hadn't talked about this film before on the channel, but I have to highlight that this was a historic achievement. First, it's worth mentioning that Flow is a true visual masterpiece, and it was created using a free illustration app. Plus, this victory marked Latvia's first ever nomination and win at the Oscars, making it an incredible milestone for the country's film industry. If you've come across this story online, you know exactly what I mean. The cat from Flow, the film's mascot, has become a national icon in Latvia. There are statues of it in cities, graffiti on walls, and even stores selling merchandise themed around the animation. It's truly heartwarming to see. We often criticize the Oscars and Hollywood and rightly so, for the idea that a film only matters if it's validated by the American film industry, which is definitely not true. But every now and then, moments like this happen. Moments that transcend the awards themselves and genuinely mean something to an entire country. And it's in those moments that we remember why we still care about these events. So if you haven't seen Flow yet, don't waste time. It's a stunning, dialogue-free animation that follows a group of animals trying to survive a flood while learning to coexist on the same boat. It's simple, poetic, emotional, and absolutely beautiful. I completely fell in love with this film. Another standout of the night was Wicked's historic win. Paul Tazewell made history by becoming the first black man to win the Oscar for Best Costume Design for his incredible work on the film. He had been nominated before, for West Side Story, for example, but this was his first win. And yes, it's absolutely mind-blowing to think that in nearly 100 years of the Oscars, this award had never been won by a black man before. But unfortunately, that's still the reality. Between us, the Academy still has a long way to go in terms of representation. A statistic that I can't get out of my head, and one that I still can't wrap my mind around, is that out of more than 3,000 Oscars awarded in history, less than 1% have gone to black women. That's absurd. But with every win, we take an important step forward, and Paul Tazewell's victory is a landmark in that fight. His work on Wicked went beyond just designing beautiful costumes. He transformed Elphaba and Glinda's outfits into essential elements of the story, visually enhancing the narrative. The costumes were breathtaking, and seeing this recognition with an Oscar was incredibly moving, especially since the award was presented by Bowen Yang, one of the film's cast members. What a moment. In the Best Supporting Actor and Actress categories, the winners were pretty much predictable. Kieran Culkin, who played Benji in The True Pain, and Zoe Saldana, who portrayed Rita in Emilia Perez, dominated the awards season in an impressive way. They won almost every single award leading up to the Oscars. So many already expected their victories. And that's exactly what happened. This year, the Oscars adopted an interesting format for announcing the nominees. Last year's winner took the stage, gave an emotional speech, and personally introduced each nominee, but without showing clips of their performances. The winner's name was then revealed directly. While some prefer seeing snippets of the actor's work, this was the approach the Academy went with. Kieran Culkin won and gave a humorous speech, staying true to his signature style and even joking with his wife. Meanwhile, Zoe Saldana received one of the biggest recognitions of her career for one of her most controversial projects. If you followed the release of Emilia Perez, you know the film faced heavy criticism over issues related to the trans community and Latin representation. But what really shocked everyone on Sunday night was Zoe's response during her winner's interview. When a journalist brought up the backlash and asked for her thoughts, Zoe said during her victory interview, when a journalist commented on the criticism surrounding the film and asked for her opinion, Zoe stated, "First of all, I sincerely apologize, as I understand that many Mexicans felt offended. That was never our intention. We spoke from a place of love. I do not share that opinion. To me, the heart of this film was not Mexico. We were telling a story about friendship. The four women in the film could have been Russian, Dominican, Black women from Detroit, from Israel, or from Gaza. They would still be universal women, facing daily challenges and trying to survive systemic oppression while seeking their authentic voices. I stand by my position, but I am always willing to sit down with my Mexican brothers and sisters with love and respect to discuss how Emilia Perez could have been made in a better way. I am open to listening." This response divided the internet, especially since Emilia Perez was promoted as a Latin film, and now Zoe claims that the character's origins are irrelevant. This fueled even more debates about the movie and its implications. And you, what's your take on this controversy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Before we move on, I want to highlight a curious moment from Conan's presentation. He brought on stage the firefighters who were on the front lines during the California wildfires and used the occasion to make a joke that had a huge impact. First, he made sure to acknowledge the work of these heroes, but then he said that what happened in Hollywood was so serious that even he wouldn't dare make a joke about it. So he passed that responsibility to the firefighters, and one of them came out with this: "Our hearts go out to those who lost their homes, the producers of Joker 2. The audience was in shock, reacting with a, "What? Damn." Joker 2's failure was still a sensitive topic in Hollywood. The film suffered a nearly $200 million loss, as it failed to even recoup its production costs at the box office. It was a major blow to DC and Warner, and the fiasco was still being brought up at every award show. One of the most memorable moments of the ceremony happened during the announcement of the Best Documentary Award. The winner was No Other Land, a film about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, created by a group of filmmakers from both sides. In a night without major controversies, this was undoubtedly the most political moment of the event. During the acceptance speech, the producers did not hesitate to raise awareness about the situation in Gaza. They delivered powerful statements such as these: "We urge the world to take concrete action to end the injustice and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. 2 months ago, I became a father, and the only hope I have for my daughter is that she won't have to endure the same suffering I am experiencing." No Other Land portrays a harsh reality we have faced for years, but we continue to resist. We created this film together, Palestinians and Israelis, because our voices become stronger when united. We see the destruction of Gaza and its people, which must stop, and we see the Israeli hostages abducted in the October 7th attack, They must be freed. This speech touched on a highly sensitive topic within Hollywood. It is worth remembering that Melissa Barrera was fired from the Scream franchise for expressing her stance on social media regarding the genocide of the Palestinian people. That's why this statement, made on stage, was such a powerful moment, especially in front of the entire film industry. It surely made some people uncomfortable, but it was delivered in a respectful and thoughtful manner. Now let's talk about the victory that made history for Brazil. In the Best International Feature Film category, I'm Still Here took home the Oscar, marking a historic achievement for the country. I must admit I was deeply moved by the overwhelming support from Brazilians for the film and for Fernanda Torres. It was truly expected. Brazil had 3 nominations this year, which was already a victory in itself. But Best International Feature Film was where we had the best chance to shine. The main competitor was the French musical Emilia Perez, but it was hindered by a series of controversies throughout the award season. However, that wasn't the only factor that secured the win. I'm Still Here won thanks to the tireless efforts of the entire team to promote the film worldwide, bringing Eunice Paiva's story to places where Brazil's dictatorship was little known. The movie premiered internationally right around the Oscar voting period, generating positive buzz and boosting ticket sales. Those who watched the film were captivated and encouraged others to see it as well. It was a testament to the strength of Brazilian talent, the power of Brazilian history, and the brilliant performance of Fernanda Torres. The award was even more special for Brazilians because it was won during Carnival, the country's biggest popular celebration and one of the largest in the world. It is also known as the greatest show on earth. Parades and festivities took over the nation, with everyone cheering and celebrating. On stage, director Walter Salles made sure to honor Eunice Paiva, Fernanda Torres, and Fernanda Montenegro, showcasing Brazilian culture to the world. It was an unforgettable and historic moment. As the ceremony neared its end, the most anticipated acting categories took center stage. Before diving back into Brazil's achievement, let's highlight Adrien Brody's victory. The actor won the Oscar for Best Actor for his performance in The Brutalist, an epic 3-hour drama about a Hungarian architect trying to rebuild his life in the United States in the 1940s. Brody's win was expected, as he had been sweeping awards throughout the season, while other contenders, like Timothée Chalamet, had less momentum. With this achievement, Brody now holds 2 Best Actor statuettes, the second following his 2003 victory for The Pianist. Speaking of 2003, there was a curious moment during this year's ceremony that echoed that Oscar night. Who remembers when Adrien Brody surprised everyone by kissing Halle Berry as he received his award from her? At the time, the gesture was seen as spontaneous and lighthearted. But years later, Halle admitted she was completely caught off guard and didn't know how to react. This year, the actress decided to return the surprise and kissed Adrien in front of his wife, creating an unexpected moment that sparked various interpretations. Some saw it as a playful joke between friends, while others speculated that Halle's gesture might have been a form of revenge. The mystery remains. We arrived at the final 3 categories of the night: Best Director, Best Actress, and Best Picture. And when we talk about these categories, we're talking about a single name: Anora. Sean Baker's film dominated the awards, winning 5 out of the 6 categories it was nominated for. In addition to the 3 mentioned, it also took home Best Original Screenplay and Best Editing, a true achievement. Anora tells the story of Anne, a high-end escort and dancer who meets a young Russian millionaire and dares to dream of changing her life. It's a narrative about the illusion of the American dream, funny, emotional, and brilliant all at once. And all of this is driven by Mike Madison's breathtaking performance. However, her win in the Best Actress category was one of the most surprising moments of the night. This category in particular had deep significance for Brazilians. Fernanda Torres was nominated for her work in I'm Still Here, becoming the first Brazilian actress to be nominated for the award in nearly 30 years. The last time this happened was in 1999, when Fernanda Montenegro was nominated for Central Station. At the time, her loss was felt as a historic injustice. And now Brazilians hope for a different outcome. We knew the competition was fierce. Demi Moore had built a strong campaign, especially after winning the Golden Globe, and moving audiences with a speech about how, at 60 years old, she was finally being recognized for her talent. This narrative made her one of the Oscar favorites. For Brazilians, the hope was that Fernanda Torres would also receive her own historical correction. After all, she not only carried a legacy, but also starred in a Portuguese-language film about the dictatorship, symbolizing a victory for Latin America. That's why Mike Madison's win took everyone by surprise. Not because she didn't deserve it, but because all signs pointed to either Demi or Fernanda. The Oscars, especially in major categories, tend to reward stories of perseverance and recognition, and both Demi and Fernanda had strong narrative arcs. The awards seemed to be heading in one of those two directions. But that's not what happened. What came next was concerning. While looking at Brazilian reactions after the Oscars, I found something that saddened me. A wave of attacks against Mike Madison. Some fan pages of the Brazilian actress had to set their accounts to private due to the flood of insults. And these weren't just criticisms of the awards, which would be legitimate. They were misogynistic, aggressive, and completely disproportionate comments. Remember the pink dress Mike Madison wore, which I mentioned earlier? Well, here's a curious detail. Fernanda Montenegro lost to Gwyneth Paltrow in 1999, and Fernanda Torres lost to Mike Madison now. Both winners wore pink while accepting their awards. Coincidence or not, this detail sparked ironic comments online. Unfortunately, many of these comments crossed the line. I saw people saying, "Unbelievable that a movie like that won the Oscar. I can't believe we lost to a movie about a prostitute. This woman should never set foot in Brazil." And even Mike Madison had to sell herself to win the award. This isn't frustration, it's pure hatred. And what saddens me most is seeing how some people can turn any moment into an excuse to spread misogyny and baseless hate. In the end, the Oscars should be about celebrating cinema, talent, and recognition. But for some, it only seems to matter when the result matches their expectations. Of course, I also believe Fernanda Torres deserved it more. But you won't see me belittling first because I'm a fan of the Scream franchise, and ever since I saw her in theaters in 2022, I thought, my God, give this girl all the awards. And neither should anyone else. First, because I'm a fan of the Scream franchise, and ever since I saw her in theaters in 2022, I thought, my God, give this girl all the awards. Second, because I actually liked Anora. I watched all the nominated films in the major categories, and by the end of my marathon, I asked myself which ones impacted me the most. I loved Wicked, The Substance, Conclave, A Complete Stranger, and Sing Sing. But aside from I'm Still Here, the only film that truly hit me like a punch in the gut was Anora, especially because of its ending, which still lingers in my mind. So I can't say that Mike Madison didn't deserve this Oscar. In fact, she was the most awarded actress of the season, winning around 50 awards for this role. You can't say her win was an Oscar fluke. I think Fernanda Torres deserved it more, and I know you do too. That's fine. We're the kind of audience that values cinema as a whole, whether Brazilian or not. But in my opinion, Fernanda Torres is still the best actress of the season. But spending the entire day calling Mike Madison a prostitute online? That's just unacceptable. By the way, Anora has one intimate scene in the first 30 minutes of a 2-hour movie. After that, it turns into a frenetic action comedy through the streets of New York. So why are people acting like it's some kind of adult film? What movie did they watch? Now, about Demi Moore's loss. If I had to bet money on Sunday, even while rooting for Fernanda, I would have bet on Demi Moore. But for some reason, it didn't happen. I read an article from The Hollywood Reporter that said something like, "For the past 10 months, Anora has been receiving critical acclaim. So why didn't we think the voters would love it?" Even so, I thought Anora wouldn't be able to outshine Demi Moore's narrative. Maybe it was a combination of factors. The Oscars are frequently criticized for awarding careers rather than specific performances. Jamie Lee Curtis's 2023 win is still a running joke. Plus, The Substance is a horror film with gore scenes. Not all Academy voters like or even watch that kind of movie. And of course, there's Hollywood's historical neglect of Demi Moore. But looking on the bright side, Demi has a lot to celebrate. She's at the peak of her career, receiving acclaim from both critics and audiences. Her performance was incredible, and her trajectory is only going up from here. I think she comes out of this season very victorious, even without the statue. At the end of the day, I know this video won't change anyone's life, but I really wish we could learn to celebrate people's victories, whether fair or unfair, and always maintain respect despite our opinions. After all, for us anonymous mortals, it won't change a thing who won or lost. Fernanda Torres, during the I'm Still Here press conference, had to take a moment to talk about Honora and say that the film's wins don't diminish anyone's merit. She made a point of emphasizing that the film's victories were incredible for independent cinema, praised Mike Madison, and asked people to stop attacking her online. She probably saw what was happening on social media. But is this really something she should have to worry about right now? If Fernanda herself, who lost the award, was able to recognize this, why can't we? Let's take a moment to reflect. Some people started saying that history repeated itself and that this Oscar was a 1999 2.0. But guys, that makes no sense. Remember how Harvey Weinstein ran a dirty and unprecedented campaign to buy votes? This situation has nothing to do with Honora's independent campaign. In fact, Honora's competitors had much bigger campaigns. Even Cynthia Erivo had a massive campaign compared to Mike Madison. So it's definitely not the same as 1999. Anyway, as Eunice Paiva once said, let's smile. We have so many reasons to celebrate. To avoid getting stuck in this controversy forever, let's talk about the night's tributes. Sunday was marked by special homages, including a tribute to Quincy Jones, with an incredible performance by Queen Latifah. There was also an unexpected but interesting moment celebrating the legacy of *007*. During this performance, the trio Lisa, Doja Cat, and Ray delivered iconic songs from the franchise. By the way, here's a curious detail. Everyone thought they would be performing Born Again, their recently released song. But at the last minute, the Academy announced it would be something else. And it turned out to be this tribute to James Bond. Classic Oscar moments, right? Now, one thing a lot of people noticed, several names were left out of the In Memoriam tribute. I know it's not a competition to be included, but it was strange to see that some major artists weren't remembered. How did Tony Todd not make the list? And Michelle Trachtenberg, whose passing was one of the most shocking of the week? Other Hollywood icons like Alain Delon were also missing. Maybe it doesn't mean anything, or maybe the Oscars organizers really dropped the ball and let someone's nephew put together the In Memoriam at the last minute. Either way, the American press noticed and called them out. Now let's talk about the after-party. Vanity Fair hosted its traditional Oscar party, super chic, but not always the liveliest. Still on the Brazil theme, Bruna Marquezine looked absolutely stunning at the event. A true queen, serving Brazilian beauty at the Oscars. And it was at this party that a shocking pop culture moment happened. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet showed up together with the Kardashian family. This was the first time Timothée was photographed alongside Kylie's sisters, making this a historic moment. But the most exclusive and talked about party of the night was, without a doubt, Beyoncé and Jay-Z's. The industry power couple brought together a star-studded guest list. Timothy and Kylie arrived together again, inseparable. Andrew Garfield showed up with Monica Barbaro and a complete unknown. Do we have a new couple in the making? The party was packed with celebrities. Juno Temple, Rowan Blanchard, Keke Palmer, Adrian Brody, Leonardo DiCaprio, Hunter Schafer. Oh, how I wish I could have been a fly on the wall at Beyoncé's party. Before wrapping up, I have to say, I expected more awards for Conclave. It only won Best Adapted Screenplay, and I absolutely love this movie. It deserved way more recognition. Oh, and Sing Sing too. I really wish it had received more nominations. If you haven't watched it yet, do it. It's an excellent film. But anyway, that's it. I think I covered everything that went down at the Oscars. This was a recap of the ceremony, the award reactions, and even a little reality check for some Brazilian internet users. Let's do better, guys. Now tell me in the comments, what did you think of this grand finale to awards season? If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Piram.